And welcome back to the show. I know a lot of people are concerned regarding the market, but we have Jerry Schlutzwitz here with Pacific Financial Planners who's going to put your mind at ease. Hi, Jerry.
How's it going, Bree?
Welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Has your phone been ringing off the hook?
Off the hook. My phone doesn't really ring because we're pretty conservative at Pacific Financial, but this has a lot of people concerned.
Why?
Well, because, it's kind of, I think I said it last month on the program, Everything All at Once, whatever that name of that movie is, that's what's going on. And there's a lot of moving parts. And in this case, the president decided to take on the world trade in a very public manner all at once. And some of it might be a little overkill, so to speak. And, while some of it might be very necessary, there's ways to go about things. And with the very public Liberation Day, I think there was quite a bit of pushback and quite a bit of concern. And when you're talking about trade, and we are the consumer of world's goods, that does mean our prices are going to go up, which is inflationary, which is exactly what we're trying to get away from. And there's a readjustment of valuations for companies. So we saw the market drop 20% in literally a few weeks now. We're 6 weeks off of the peak, and it's a 20% decline. I've been doing this 38 years. I pay for a lot of research, and I'm reading this research that I pay good money with my experience on, and they're saying, we've never seen anything like this. We've never seen anything like this. And I'm going, oh, I've never seen it either. So unless you've been more conservatively based, you could be down 20 to 30% in your portfolios, and that's obviously no one likes to lose that kind of money. I mean, if you've got $1 million, you're talking down $200, $300, or $1,000 or more for some people that are more aggressive. Not our clients, but they don't know, so they're calling us.
Do you feel like, this is a temporary thing that we're going through only to revise the entire system to come out stronger on the other side?
Obviously we hope that that's what happens. Obviously I can't get in the mind of our current president, but some of this is definitely overkill. Some of it, the calculations are clearly wrong. Is the concept right? The concept is good overall. Has America been unfairly treated by certain countries? My brother, I've said this before, I think on this program, it was the guy shipping the jobs to China. And so this started in the 90s, and they did take advantage of us. If you wanted to, build a manufacturing facility and not use Chinese, equipment, and you had to bring something from America, they demanded the blueprints to it. So if an IBM computer had to go in there, they wanted to see the IBM computer, which is how they went from 30th in the world in terms of technological to second in the world. Because whether they actually stole it or actually were giving it because they demanded it, they got it, and they were able to reverse engineer it and move up the chain. They also, unfairly priced their money. So there is a lot of shenanigans going on, and, I think we let it go on too long. Again, it's the methodology that we're doing it as opposed to the fact that we're doing it. I think some of it needs to be done.
Right, agreed.
But should it be temporary? We can hope that it's temporary. Obviously, the market readjusted 20% already. That's a significant move. Okay, so, some of it's factored in. Today, the markets are up. But, the key is that not everybody went through this. I mean, I remember, I've avoided big drops like, 2000 and 2000 to 2003, including 9/11. Why? Because we have a defensive way of approaching. We have a more conservative. My clients are our viewers, but not all of our viewers listen, and some of our viewers think they want to do things their way, and there's the ones who are going to be suffering. But if they listen to some of the strategies we laid out, which is have some no-risk investments, have a plan for your investments, as opposed to just a collection of investments, you're not hurting too bad. I mean, most of our clients are doing pretty good, actually.
So why do you think that some investors struggle with their investments? Let's bring it home. Let's bring it to Laguna Woods Village here.
Well, a lot of people, just like I said, the comprehensive plan. What is it you're trying to achieve? Look, when you're 40 years old or 30 years old, you want to have your 401k and grow your money. But once you retire, you've got what you've got. You've retired. You don't have an income to grow your money anymore. You should switch more to an income model, a safe model, something that's paying you regularly. Because companies that pay you along the way aren't as risky as, let's say, like the Nvidias and the risky stuff like the Googles and Apples along the way. I think part of it is they lack education, because there is no education on finance. There truly isn't. Not, unless you say, okay, I want to specialize in this. But if you want to become a doctor, a lawyer, a business person, a teacher, whatever it is that your profession was, you're really not getting that. So you got to turn to somebody, and sometimes it's the media. Well, the media is not helping you. The media is selling, Chevrolets and hot dogs. They really are. I mean, those shows out there, like Kramer and all that. I've met Jim a few times and stuff like that. His right-hand woman was a handler for me when I wrote for TheStreet.com. And it's Stephanie Link, and she's on all these shows now as well. But, they don't understand products, and that's a lot of it. They don't understand. They say, okay, well, I use blue chip stocks. I don't know how many times I've heard that. Well, I'm not risky. I use blue chip stocks like, Procter and Gamble and Kraft and, ExxonMobil. Well, you're on the riskiest type of investments, but you're on the most conservative of riskiest. But there's a whole plethora of things that have, from zero risk to some risk that they just have no idea about, and they avoid those because they just don't know. I mean, one of the biggest things is self-education. Get a second opinion. You're concerned? Don't go back to the same person who put you in there, and you can stay with the person, but get someone else to look at your portfolio and say, hey, are you taking too much risk? Right. And then you can take that information and go back to your person and say, hey, I think I'm taking too much risk, and they might have some ammunition to talk to them about.
Right. So talk to us about investment annuities. What are the misconceptions?
Well, that's the thing, is people have misconceptions about all kinds of things, like annuities. And they heard something. I heard annuities are bad. And then they just believe they're bad. Look, annuities are your pension. Anyone who has a pension, that's what an annuity is. You win the lottery, you know what you're getting? You're getting an annuity to pay you out. It can pay lifetime income. And it can also protect your money. If you don't need the income, you can have it reinvest and grow with tax advantage. Now, not all annuities are great. There are some annuities that are expensive. There are some annuities, but it's just like, there are certain cars that, maybe, at 75 years old, you shouldn't be buying a Ferrari and driving, because it's a little too fast and a little too risky. Maybe there's a more appropriate vehicle for you for your age. It's the same thing with investments. Bonds, the same way. Bonds can't lose money. Bonds go up when stocks go down. I don't know how many times I hear that. It's like, no, bonds go down when interest rates go up. It has nothing to do with the stock market. And if you have a bond mutual fund, can you lose money? Of course you can. So, a lot of people unknowingly, they expose themselves to too much risk.
Well, they can come see you at the Financial Forum Club.
Yeah, we're going
to try to mitigate those risks.
Thursday,
right?
Clubhouse 7, this week, Thursday, 3 to 5 p.m. Look, if you have questions, you can come in there. We're going to discuss, product knowledge. We're going to discuss investments. We'll take any questions. If you just want to observe and learn, you don't have to sign in. You don't have to participate. Yeah, but if you want to ask questions, it's a safe forum with other people of levels of sophistication from none to very sophisticated people in the community. That's why we call it the forum. And it's, like I said, this week, Thursday, Clubhouse 7, 3 to 5.
Okay. It was discussing smart investing for seniors.
Absolutely. Probably talk a lot about the markets and talk about these product misconceptions that we were just mentioning, Bree.
Right. Jerry, always such a pleasure.
I thought I was going to avoid bullets in here, but
Yeah, well, we got to keep it tame around here.
Okay, thank you.
Nice to have you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thank you for the information, and I know that you offer such valuable services, so I just encourage all of our viewers to go to the forum, learn more, and it takes the fear out of it, right? It takes the anxiety out of watching these sudden changes that we're witnessing now.
Yeah, and this was more sudden than most things because of the way it was presented. But do I think things will be fine? I do, but I think most people need to reevaluate their portfolio. When things go down, let's say we're down 20%, you need a 25% return to break even. If you had 100 grand and now you have 80, that 80's got to produce 20 grand, which is 25%. So not losing is super important.
All right. On that note, go see Jerry, Pacific Financial Planners. Coming up next, we have the old pros. Stay with us.